Welcome to Kiwi Bred, your weekly insight into the New Zealand thoroughbred breeding industry. I'm Aidan Rodley. Coming up on the show this week, we speak with John Thompson about the fantastic results Pentar has produced over the past 12 months and introduce Vespa, the Gr.1 juvenile winner now standing at Wellfield Lodge. But first up, we're in Taranaki to speak with dairy farmer Sean Kiernan about his delight in breeding Gr.1 New Zealand Oaks winner Fanatic. His life might revolve around his South Taranaki dairy farm, but Sean Kiernan confesses he's a racing fanatic, even more so now that he's become a Gr.1 winning breeder and owner.
Look at Fanatic coming out of the ground, out wide Strata Cavallo, it's Sophia Rosa, Fanatic's coming after it, Sophia Rosa's just in front, Fanatic's trying to pick it up as they go towards the post, Sophia Rosa I reckon's just won the Oaks and knows.
While Kiernan's pride and joy Fanatic wasn't first past the post in this year's New Zealand Oaks, she rightfully won the race in the inquiry room.
It was surreal. It was, oh yes, no, we've won a race. It probably wasn't until the next day until I was home here and the phone rang for 2 days constant, and you can ask anyone that was here. It was, Coolmore rung me, but anyone, people that didn't even know me rung me, just knew I owned the horse. Some guy said, I play bowls with you. I said, bowls? I didn't play bowls in my life. But it was just unbelievable, Yeah, I met Stephen Marsh upstairs and shook his hand and congratulated him and just said, bad luck, but he said, you got the best day in Philly. And I said, thank you. On a hard track, yes, I think we have. A lot of people knew who Sean Kiernan was, I'll give you the tip.
Kiernan grew up with a racing-mad father, and it didn't take long for that to rub off onto him. He was always destined to race thoroughbreds. His best horse before Fanatic was 4-win perfectly ready mare Bouvier, which he bred himself. But the game changed when he followed the advice of his brother-in-law and trusted confidant, Curramore studs Gordon Cunningham, to buy Fanatic's Dam Complete Class.
Gordy saw her foal at Raffles Farm, the O'Reilly, and inquired what the mother was doing, and by chance Bruce Sherwin, I presume, said it's on the way to the Magic Million sales. So Gordy said, could it be stopped? And it was in Sydney at that stage, and they said yes. What do they want for it? They wanted 30,000. So he rang me immediately and said, I found your horse, but it's in Sydney. Do you want it? And I said, hey, if it's good enough for you, it's good enough for me. So that's what we did. Yeah. So it was his initial, it was nothing to do with me. It was Curramore Studs, Supremo, Gordon Cunningham.
Yeah, and at that point she was in folder keeper?
She was in folder keeper at that point there. Yeah. And I was always going to sell it because I thought, well, that'll less the cost of it, give me a bit of tea in the billy, and then we'll breed to something else.
Why shocking?
Oh, just because he won the Melbourne Cup, and I wanted to breed Complete Class was a middle distance horse, and I wanted to breed a stayer. Like a lot of people, I want to win the Melbourne Cup, and I thought, well, a 2 mile horse over a mile and a bit horse, mile and a half horse is what we want. So that's the holy grail for me. So that was the prime reason. Plus, Street Cry Blood is the hottest blood around. Yeah. He'd done enough to prove himself to me anyway. And the other thing I thought, if I didn't want to race it, which I contradicted myself, but I thought, well, no one can diss them because they don't know if they're any good or not, sort of thing. So yeah. It's it's like a new bottle of wine. You can't say it's no good till you taste it. So that was my logic. Complete
Class's mating was shocking, produced Fanatic, and Kiernan fell in love with her the instant he set eyes on her as a foal.
Oh, she was like Jack, the son, when you saw him, beautiful, sort of thing. She was beauty, and Gordy, the master gave me the thing. He said, she's this, that, and the other thing, and she's perfect, and that's good enough for me. I wouldn't class myself as a horse judge like those guys. So yeah, no, I was pretty happy with it.
Kiernan sent Fanatic to Te Awamutu trainers Graham Sanders and Debbie Sweeney, and was delighted with the feedback he received.
I could hear him in his voice, that he was getting a bit, what's the name, and of course, I named the horse after myself, Fanatic. I haven't told that to anyone, but I did. I named it because I am a fanatic on racing. I couldn't give a stuff about the All Blacks or the Rio Olympics or nothing. Get out of my way so I can see trackside, or racing or horses, So I named it after myself, and GK said to me one day, you named it after yourself, didn't you? And I said, no. It's just shocking, and a fanatic is shocking. That's the way I told him, But he said to me, oh no, I think you got a nice horse here. I said, is it the best horse I've ever sent you? No, I'm not saying that, you'll get too wound up. And I thought, ooh, this is interesting. So, yeah, by the 2-year-old campaign, about a fortnight before it went to Matamata against Let Her Rip, or whatever it was called that time, he said, you got a half decent horse here. I said, oh, okay. That's interesting.
Fanatic Claire Maiden graded her 5th start at Te Awamutu, but it wasn't till the summer of her 3-year-old season that she really hit her straps. After an eye-catching 7th in the Group 2 Sir Tristram Fillies Classic at Tarapa, Fanatic boomed home for 4th to emphatic winner Sophia Rosa in the Group 3 Lowland Stakes at Hastings to top off her New Zealand Oaks build-up. Punters weren't convinced and allowed her to start as a $63 outsider, though Sanders was brimming with confidence.
By the Friday of that Oaks, he rung me and he said, I said to him, she was only 90% going into the Sir Tristram. He said, yeah, she's bang on, she's 100%, mate. I said, Jingos. I said, we're having a bet? He said, you put as much as you can on, you know. I said, good, I like a bet. I've already backed her at fixed odds. He said, I think you might get a bit more on the day because they're all talking Sophia Rose, as they should have been. So, yeah, no, when he says they're bang on, that's good enough for me.
Fanatic's Oaks win was the first Group 1 win for Rich Hill Stallion Shocking and a great source of satisfaction for greenhorn breeder Kiernan, who now has a valuable broodmare prospect on his hands.
Well, people breed all their lives and don't get it, and I've done it in, you know, a relatively short time. It puts a lot of burden on you to go to the right sort of horse. I'll have to seek some proper advice off Gordy and what have you, where we think we should be going, what's worked with Street Cry. I presume it'd be something around the Dane Hill sort of scenario. I'm not 100% certain, but something like that. I talked to John Thompson up at Rich Hill too. He's got a pretty good idea on things like that. So yeah, no, it's exciting going forward.
There will be offers coming for her because those big studs, they want the Group 1 producers, but you will breed from her?
Yeah, no, I've turned down some reasonable money. I thought, well, I might as well have a throw at the stumps, you know. It's not often, money's one thing, that's good, but it's not all the time that you can race a Group 1 horse, and even if she never wins another race, you can't take the Group 1 offer. She's still got that Gr.1 beside her name. So yeah, I turned down some serious money, and I never thought I would, but when you got it, and in conjunction with GK and what he said, I thought, well, I'll have a throw at the stumps. What are they going to do? They're going to race it in the Caulfield Cup or the Geelong Cup or the Moonee Valley Cup or the Melbourne Cup or something. I might as well have a go at it and see what happens, try and get the spoils of war.
You said you were a fanatic about the racing. Are you starting to become a fanatic about the breeding?
Oh no, not as much, because it's a hard game. You know, it's easy walking around at Karaka and seeing something you like that one, buy it, and it's all perfectly ready made, like a ready cooked meal. But breeding a horse, no, it's too tough for me. It's real tough. It's a tough game. Yeah. Not too tough, but it's a real tough game.
So the thrills that you're getting out of your racing interest prior to getting into breeding in a stronger way, you're obviously you're really enjoying it.
Oh yeah, oh heck yeah, yeah. No, racing, it's the greatest game there is.
What have the lows been for you on this journey?
The costs are a big low, and the waiting. I'm not the most patient of people. You know, I always said to GK, the next horse I'm going to call it is more time, because every time he'd ring, you know, he'd say it needs more time or this or that, and you know, you like to get it out and get it going, sort of thing. But apart from that, no, there hasn't been too many lows. You know.
The interesting thing is you're saying that you're not the most patient people, but you've gone out and bred specifically a staying time.
Oh, well, I think you've got to. I think you've got to play to your strength in New Zealand, and I think we are a staying breed, you know, sort of thing. And I think if we're going to have a horse good enough to take to Australia, we've got to have a stayer to go over there.
Kiernan was forced to retire complete class after complications rising from her foaling her Purmoire filly, but he admits he has well and truly got the breeding bug.
The breeding has given me a lot more satisfaction than what I initially thought when I first went into it. First I went into it to breed something to sell, but as Gordy said, if you don't breed something right, you've got to race it yourself. So no, that's given me enormous pleasure too. And you can poke your chest out and you go, I bred it, you know, sort of thing. So yeah, no, it's good.
How much luck's involved in this?
Oh, there's a lot of luck. I don't give a what anyone says. Yeah, you know, I'm half Irish, and that's enough luck for me. But no, there's a lot of luck involved.
Yes, Sean's passion is evident, and we wish him and the team all the best in the upcoming weeks in Melbourne. Coming up next on Kiwi Bred, we're at Rich Hill Stud to discuss the results Pentire is continuing to produce with his progeny on the racetrack.